Hello guys, welcome to Study for Civil Services. See, in this video we will see chemistry digest, chemistry summary for competitive exams of 2016. And from this video we are going to start a science video series, science GK video series. We will upload videos on chemistry, physics, biology from NCERT books for all the exams, mostly for UPSC, state PCS exams, and all the other exams like SSC exams and banking exams, railway exams. So this is the video for the chemistry digest. Now let's start with the introduction. What is chemistry? Chemistry is a branch of physical science in which the study of composition, properties, and behavior of matter takes place. Now, the father of modern chemistry, see, Antoine Lavoisier was a French nobleman, and he is the known as the father of modern chemistry. So please remember this name for the exams. This question can be directly asked in the exams. So Antoine Lavoisier is known as the father of modern chemistry, and he was a French nobleman and chemist central to the 18th century chemical revolution and a large influence on both the history of chemistry and the history of biology. And that is why he is widely considered as the father of modern chemistry. Now we'll see the matter actually exists in three states: solid, liquid, and gases. But these days, in current affairs you might have listened the term plasma and Bose-Einstein condensate or Higgs boson particle. So nowadays there is a discussion on two more states of matter, that is the plasma, which is ionized gases containing super energetic and super excited particles, and second is Bose-Einstein condensates, which is a gas at super low temperature with extremely low density. Now we'll see what do you mean by the boiling point. These are very basic concepts of chemistry, and these are must know facts of chemistry for every exams. Now the temperature at which the liquid converts it into vapors. So liquid to vapor, whenever the conversion from liquid to vapor take place, the point at which the temperature at which this conversion takes place, it is known as its boiling point. Boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. This is very simple fact. And another very interesting fact is that the boiling point increases in the presence of impurities, and that is why the boiling point of seawater is more than the boiling point of pure water, because seawater contains a lot of impurities. And boiling point usually decreases at high altitudes, and that is why at higher altitudes the boiling point of water is less than 100 degrees Celsius, and that is why more time is required to cook a food. Whenever you go to mountain or any hill station, you will observe that the time required to cook any food is more in the hills and in the mountainous areas than the time required to cook the same food at the plain areas. So this is because the boiling point decreases at the higher latitudes. Now we'll see the melting point. Melting point is a temperature at which a substance converts from solid state to the liquid state. And melting point of ice is 0 degrees Celsius, and it decreases in the presence of impurities. So there is a fact that boiling point increases with the presence of impurities, and that is why the boiling point of seawater is more than the boiling point of pure water. But the melting point decreases in the presence of impurities. So please remember this, the difference between melting point and boiling point. Now we'll see the difference between the atom, molecule, and element. See, atom is the smallest particle of a matter that takes place in chemical reactions but cannot exist in free state. An atom is made of electrons, protons, and neutrons. So three basic particles of atom are electrons, protons, and neutrons. Protons and neutrons reside in the nucleus, that is at the center of the atom, whereas electrons revolves around the nucleus. So if this is the nucleus, proton and neutrons reside in the nucleus, and electrons will be revolving around the nucleus. Now atoms combine to form molecules, that is the smallest part of matter which can exist in free state. I'll see the difference between isotopes and isobars. These type of definition and concept based question can be generally asked in exams. Now isotopes are the, isotopes have same number of protons, that is atomic number, but different number of neutrons as well as different number of mass number. See, mass number equal to atomic number plus number of neutrons. So if the element have different number of neutrons and same number of atomic number, obviously their mass number will be different. So please remember this thing, that isotopes have same number of protons or atomic number, but different number of neutrons and mass number. Now nucleons is equal to protons plus neutrons, and the number of nucleons in the nucleus is the atom's mass number. I've told you this, mass number equal to atomic number plus number of neutron, or mass number equal to number of proton plus number of neutron, because number of proton is equal to number of proton is equal to atomic number, and each isotope of a given element has a different mass number. For example, carbon 12, carbon 13, carbon 14 are the three isotopes of the element carbon with mass number 12, 13 and 14, but the number of protons in all these is same, because the number of atomic number of carbon is 6. So the number of protons in all these three isotopes, that is carbon 12, carbon 13 and carbon 14, is 6, and it is same, and that is why these are known as the isotopes, because they have different mass numbers and different number of neutrons. Now isobars have the same mass number but different atomic number. Please remember this, isotopes have same protons or same atomic number and different mass number and different number of neutrons, but isobar have same mass number but different atomic number. And isobars are atoms or nucleoids of different chemical elements that have the same number of nucleons. Nucleons means number of protons plus number of neutrons. We have seen this definition of nucleons. See, nucleons means protons and neutrons combined. So isobars correspondingly differ in atomic number or number of proton but have the same mass number. For example, argon 1840 and potassium 1940. Both these compound have both these element have same mass number and different atomic number or different number of proton. So please remember this thing, isotope have same atomic number, isobar have same mass number. Only these two things, if you remember, you can solve all the questions in the exams very easily. Now we'll see the dating techniques. There are two type of dating techniques. First is radiocarbon dating, and it is used to determine the age of carbon bearing materials like wood, animal fossils, etc. And generally carbon 14 is the element used in the radiocarbon dating to determine the age of fossils, woods, etc. And the second dating technique is uranium dating, and it is used to determine the age of earth, minerals and rocks. Now we'll see something about battery. See, battery is a device which is used to convert chemical energy into the electrical energy. Please remember this. Battery used to convert chemical energy into electrical energy, and battery is of two types. First is primary battery, which are non-rechargeable and they are use and throw type. So and they act as a galvanic cell. For example, dry cell, mercury cell, or the cells which we used in clocks, watches, uh, TV remote, etc. The second type of battery is secondary battery or the rechargeable battery, and they act as a galvanic as well as voltaic cell. For example, lead storage battery or nickel cadmium battery, which we used in the inverters or mobile phones, etc. So there are two type of batteries. Now we will see the basic concept of corrosion. What is corrosion? It is actually the oxidative deterioration of a metal surface by the action of environment or by the action of air or oxygen is called corrosion, and it is an electrochemical process. And when iron exposed into the air, iron surface turns brown because of the formation of hydrated ferric oxide, that is Fe2O3.xH2O, and which is also called the rust. So you might have seen that whenever any iron, whenever any vessel or anything made of iron is exposed to air or O2, it turns red or reddish brown because of the it actually happens because of the formation of the rust, which is hydrated ferric oxide. And the same example you can see in the silver. Silver surface turns black because of the formation of silver sulfide, that is Ag2S. This happens also because of the reaction of silver with the atmosphere, with the air, or with the O2. Now we'll see the renewable and non-renewable natural resources. See, renewable resources are those resources which get renewed with the time, and they are available in large excess, and they have plenty time to get renewed. For example, air, sunlight, and they never ends. That is why they are known as renewable resources. Renewable means renew, means they get renewed. Now, non-renewable resources, they are available in very limited quantity, and they can end if used excessively or exhaustively after a limited period of time. For example, minerals, coals, petroleum, and natural gases, etc. And that is why we talk about the sustainable development of resources to save the natural resources present on the earth. So this is the first part of Chemistry Digest for competitive exams of 2016. Uh, Please subscribe, like, and please like, subscribe our channel Study for Civil Services for more updates. Thank you for listening. Hello guys, welcome to Study for Civil Services. See, we have started a video series for science and technology, science from NCERT books, and the videos for chemistry, physics, and biology, and environment and ecology. These videos are can be useful for UPSC and other state civil services exams and exams like SSC and banking and other competitive exams. And we have already completed Chemistry Digest for competitive exams of 2016 Part 1, and we have finished till renewable and non-renewable resources. In this video, we will see we will start from fuel. So in this video, we are actually seeing some of the very basic concepts of chemistry, which can be asked in all the exams. Now, fuels are the substances which produce heat and light on combustion, and this is a very important fact. You should know this. In our household kitchens, we generally use LPG cylinder, and LPG is actually an odorless gas, and that is why a strong foul-smelling substance known as ethyl mercaptan is added to LPG to detect its leakage. Because LPG is an odorless gas, so if it starts leaking, there is no way to find that LPG is leaking. So that is why a strong foul smelling substance known as ethyl mercaptan is added to LPG to detect its leakage. Please remember this. This is very important fact. Now we'll see some of the very important fuels and their compositions. First is water gas. It is a combination of carbon monoxide, that is CO plus H2. So water gas formula is CO plus H2, and it is produced by passing steam over red hot coal. Second is producer gas. Its formula is CO plus N2, and it is produced by passing insufficient air over red hot coke. Third is coal gas. it it is actually the mixture of hydrogen plus methane, that is CH4 plus ethylene plus acetylene plus carbon monoxide plus nitrogen, and coal gas is formed or produced by fractional distillation. Fourth is very important, it is natural gas. See, natural gas is mostly methane, and around 83% of methane. So natural gas is a combination of methane and ethane, and mostly it is methane, and it is produced from petroleum. Then LPG, it is very important gas. It is generally used in our kitchens, household kitchens. It is also used these days in some vehicles. LPG is actually a mixture of propane. So LPG is mostly propane and butane. See, the composition of propane and butane actually depend from country to country. And in our country, that is in India, LPG is combination of propane and butane, and mostly it is butane. And there are some other uh, elements also are present in traces or very small fractions are isobutane, butylene, n-butane, and propylene, etc. And LPG is produced from petroleum, and LPG is, I've told you this fact that LPG is normally odorless. That is, and that is why a small amount of a very foul smelling pungent gas known as ethane thiol or ethyl mercaptan is added to LPG to decrease the usage of LPG. Sixth is CNG, that is compressed natural gas, and compressed natural gas or CNG, it is actually methane. When methane is stored at high pressure, it is known as compressed natural gas, and it can be used in place of gasoline or petrol, diesel fuel, and propane or LPG. These days, CNG is becoming very popular, and it is alternative fuel to the diesel or petrol or LPG. It is also produced from petroleum. Then biogas or gobar gas, it is the mixture of methane, that is CH4, then carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and nitrogen. It is produced from organic waste. These days government is also focusing on some renewable energy, electricity production from renewable energy, and biogas is one of the source of renewable energy. Now this is very important concept, physical and chemical changes. These concepts are generally asked directly in the exams, so you should understand the difference between the physical change and chemical change, and the concept of physical change and chemical change. See, physical change are the change which only affect the physical properties like color. See, physical properties are those properties which you can generally see in the physical appearance, or if you see any substance, and whatever you see physically and the properties exhibited are known as physical properties. Like color, you can see; hardness, you can feel; density, you can know; and melting point. So these are some of the physical properties, and physical changes are those changes which only affect the physical properties, that is color, hardness, density, melting point of the matter, but they do not affect the composition and chemical properties of the matter, because these the composition and chemical properties of the matter are affected by the chemical changes. So this is the difference between physical and chemical change, and a physical change is temporary, and chemical change is permanent. Examples of physical changes are crystallization, then sublimation, then boiling, melting, vaporization, cutting of trees, dissolving sugar or salt in water. These all are the examples of physical changes. And chemical changes, I have told you that they affect the composition as well as the chemical properties of matter, and they result in the formation of a new substance. In physical change, we there is no formation of new substance, and in chemical change there is a formation of new substance. And the examples of chemical changes are like burning of fuel, burning of candle and paper, electrolysis of water, photosynthesis, ripening of fruits. See, the ripening of fruits is also done artificially by ethylene. So these are some of the examples of chemical changes. So you should Remember the difference between physical and chemical change. Physical change is temporary, chemical change is permanent. In physical change, only physical properties are changes only affected, and in chemical changes, the composition, chemical properties of matter are affected, and a new substance is formed in the chemical change. And we have also seen some of the examples of physical and chemical changes. Now we will see the concept of coal. See, coal is obtained by the carbonization of vegetable material and is available in different varieties. See, coal is actually formed from the fossils or remains of forest or wood, and petroleum is formed from the fossils or remains of kingdom. So coal from the wood or forest or trees and or vegetable matter. And there are four type of coals found in India. First is peat, then lignite or brown coal, then bituminous, and then anthracite. See, as we move from peat to lignite or brown coal to bituminous to anthracite, the carbon content in the coal increases from peat to anthracite, and the best quality of coal is anthracite coal because the percentage of carbon in anthracite is around 90% and the percentage of peat is around 60%. So as whatever, if the coal is having more percentage of carbon, then it will result in the formation of more heat and more calorific value. So that is why the best quality coal is anthracite and the worst quality coal is peat. And PL, see, there is a trick to the coal varieties, and it is PLBA, means peat, lignite, bituminous, and aluminium. And as you move from peat to lignite to bituminous to anthracite, the carbon content increases from peat to anthracite, and anthracite is the best quality coal, and peat is the worst quality coal. Please remember this. So this is the part 2 of Chemistry Digest for competitive exams for 2016, and in the next part we will cover the rest of this part of Chemistry Digest for competitive exams. So please like, share, and subscribe our channel Study for Civil Services. Thank you for listening. Hello guys, welcome to Study for Civil Services. We have started video series for science and technology and chemistry, physics, biology, and environment and ecology. And we have in this video series we are actually seeing the Chemistry Digest, Chemistry GK for competitive exams of 2016, and we are seeing the basic and very important concepts of chemistry. We have already covered two parts, and in this third part, we will try to finish this PDF Chemistry Digest GK. We have finished up to coal in the second part. In this video, we will start with flame. So, what is flame? Actually, flame consists of three parts. If you see the flame of any candle or any type of flame, it is having three parts. First is innermost part, then middle part, and then outermost part. Innermost part is actually black because of the presence of unburnt carbon particles, and it is having lowest temperature. Then comes the middle part, it is yellow, and it is yellow because of the incomplete combustion of fuel. And the outermost part of the flame is the most important, and it is blue. And it is blue because of the complete combustion of fuel. And the outermost part of the flame is the hottest part, and it is having the highest temperature, and that is why it is used by goldsmith or sunar in Hindi to heat the gold. Okay, so flame consists of three parts: inner with black color with the lowest temperature, then middle is yellow, then outermost is the blue, and it is the most important part having highest temperature, and that is why it is used by goldsmith to heat the gold. Now we'll see the fire extinguisher. There are various type of fire extinguisher. Water is the most important and very commonly used fire extinguisher. Water extinguishes fire because of its property that as it evaporates, the vapors surrounding the burning substance, they actually cut off the oxygen supply, and that is why inhibiting burning process, and that is why water is used as a extinguisher. Then, but in water cannot be used in the case of electrical fire or any oil or petroleum fire, because water is a conductor of electricity, and water is actually heavier than oil, means the density of water is heavier than oil. And because of the density principle, heaviest density will be settled at the bottom, and that is why water will be settled at the bottom, and oil will floats over the water, and that is why it continues to burn. And so water cannot be used in case of electrical or oil fire, and in those cases solid carbon dioxide can be used. And solid carbon dioxide, it is actually generated by the reaction of baking soda with the acid, and this solid carbon dioxide is used for the electrical or oil fires. Now this is very important concept. You must remember this octane number and cetane number. Octane number is used to measure the quality of the petrol, and cetane number is used to measure the quality of the diesel. So please remember this. Octane number is used to measure the quality of the petrol, or you can say quality of petrol is measured in terms of octane number, and that of diesel quality is measured in terms of cetane number. Now we will see the safety matches or matchbox or matches in Hindi. See, matchbox consists of two parts. One is the rubbing part or the striking surface, and one is the matchstick. So we must remember the chemical composition of both the parts. Match heads actually contain sulfur and sometimes also antimony trisulfide, and some oxidizing agents are also present like potassium chloride with powdered glass, colorants, fillers, and a binder made of glue and starch. And the striking surface, it consists of powdered glass or silica or sand, red phosphorus, binder, and filler. See, you can see this matchbox. There are two parts. One is the striking surface, and one is the matchstick. So this striking surface is actually consist of red phosphorus, and this consists of potassium. We see that potassium chlorate and sulfur and antimony trisulfate and powdered glass. You can see the this picture, it is more clear. This is the matchbox, and the dots here you can see it is actually the red phosphorus, and this is the striking surface, and the stick consists of powdered glass and potassium chlorate and sulfur or antimony sulfide. So because of the friction, fire occurs or ignition occurs. So this is the basic concept of safety match. Now we'll see the acids, bases, and salts. See, acids are the substances which have sour taste, and they turn the blue litmus red. So please remember this: acid turn the blue litmus paper. Litmus where paper is used to determine the whether any substance is acid or base. So acid turn the blue litmus red. You can remember this concept by just remembering the name. The one word, that ABR. ABR means acid, blue, red. So acid turn blue litmus red, and acids are the good conductor of electricity in aqueous solution. You might have seen that various solutions of aqueous like HCl and H2SO4 are used in the electricity. And pickles are always kept in glass jar because the acid present in them, because in pickles we generally use the acid, acetic acid or vinegar. So if you put the pickle in metal glass, they will react with the metal and they will produce hydrogen gas, and that is why it is always advisable to keep the pickle in glass jar. Now bases are the substances which have bitter taste. Acid have sour taste and bases have bitter. See, B for bases and B for bitter. So you can remember this that bases have bitter taste and they turn red litmus brew. Acid turn blue litmus red. So ABR and BRB means bases red blue. Now they give different colors in acids and base solutions. The salts are the product of actually neutralization reaction between an acid and a base. See, pH is the measure of acidity or basicity. See, pH is actually minus logarithmic of the concentration of H plus ion, and if the pH value is less than 7, then the substance is called acid, or if the pH value is between 7 to 14, the substance is base. Now we'll see some important gases and chemicals which are very important in the chemistry. The carbon dioxide, it is an acetic oxide of carbon and it is used by green plant for photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide does not help in burning, and the air and our breath generally contain carbon dioxide, and that is why when lime water is kept in air or we pass our breath into it, the lime water turns milky. Though the reaction will be like CaO is the lime and CO2 is in the air or in our breath, because whenever we intake breath we will take O2, and whenever we will exhale the breath we will release CO2. So CO2 when when comes in the contact with the lime water or CO, so CO plus CO2 will give the formation of CaCO3, and that is why the lime water turns milky. Now, second most important gas is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide, it is a neutral oxide of air and has more affinity towards hemoglobin. See, hemoglobin in our body is more inclined towards carbon monoxide than oxygen. It Carbon monoxide is actually having 200 times more affinity than oxygen, and that is why in the environment of carbon monoxide, which is actually non-poisonous gas, people die for the need of oxygen, because oxygen supply will be blocked, and the hemoglobin of our body will be reacting with the CO, that is the carbon monoxide, and the oxygen supply will be blocked, and that is why people may die. So carbon monoxide is having more affinity towards hemoglobin. Please remember this fact. This question has been asked in various exams and is still being asked in various exams. In the UPPCS prelims 2016, this question was asked again. Now, it is very dangerous to sleep in an unventilated room with fire burning inside, because the fire produces carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. So actually, if you sleep in at the room which is unventilated or which is not having any ventilation facility, a lot of carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide will be produced, which will react with your hemoglobin, and which, see, carbon monoxide is having more affinity towards hemoglobin, and that is why the oxygen supply may block, and that is why it is said that in the closed room you should not burn any coil, any mosquito uh, killing coil like mortine or any other coil. Now another chemical is plaster of Paris. It is chemically calcium sulfite hemihydrate, and the formula is CaSO4 dot half H2O, and it is prepared by heating gypsum, which is the calcium sulfate dehydrate. So gypsum is CaSO4 dot 2H2O at 373 Kelvin. And on mixing with water, the plaster of Paris further sets into a hard solid, and it is called gypsum. And uses of plaster of Paris is that it is used to plaster fractured bones for making toys and material for decoration and for making surfaces smooth, because it is used in it is used to plaster fractured bones, because if the plaster of Paris will mix with water, the plaster of Paris will be turned into a hard solid, and that is why it is used to plaster fractured bones. Now, another compound is Portland cement. It is actually a complex mixture of silicates and aluminates of calcium with a small amount of gypsum, and raw material used for the manufacture of Portland cement are limestone and clay. Please remember this. So the raw material of Portland cement are limestone and clay. This is very important fact. You should remember this. And the composition of Portland cement is calcium oxide 50 to 60%, alumina 5 to 10%, and magnesium oxide 2 to 3%. And gypsum is added to cement to decrease its rate of setting. Please remember this fact. And in cement, if lime is in excess, cement starts cracking during setting, and if lime is less, cement is of weak strength. So please remember this also. Now, what is mortar? Mortar is actually a mixture of sand, cement, and water, and it is used for joining bricks and plastering walls. Please remember all these facts. These are very basic concepts of chemistry, and these are generally definition based question, and this can be directly as an exam that what is the mortar. So mortar is a mixture of sand, cement, and water, and it is used for joining bricks and plastering walls. Then what is concrete? Concrete is a mixture of gravel, sand, cement, and water, and it is used for flooring and making roads. You might have seen that concrete roads. Now, RCC, you must have heard this term. RCC full form is reinforced concrete cement, and it is concrete with steel bar and wires, and it is used for constructing roofs, bridges, and pillars. So this is the third part of chemistry digest for competitive exams of 2016. Please like, share, and subscribe our channel Study for Civil Services for more updates. And in the next part, we will cover the rest of this PDF. Thank you for listening. Hello guys, welcome to Study for Civil Services. In this video series, we have actually started the videos for general science, chemistry, physics, bio, and environment and ecology. And this is the video for chemistry digest for competitive exams. We have already covered three parts of this video, and this is the last part, that is the part 4, and it can be used for all the exams like UPSC, state civil services, and SSC exams, railway exams, and various other competitive exams. So we have finished in the third video till RCC. In this video series, we will start with glass. So what is glass? See, let me tell you that these are the very basic concepts of chemistry, and these questions are directly asked in the exams. So you should not miss this. Now, glass is a non-crystalline amorphous solid, and it is often transparent. And glass, it is an amorphous solid or super cooled liquid, and it contains mainly silica or SiO2. And if you add different substances, you can obtain various colors in the glass. So that is why different substances are added to obtain glass of different colors. These are the colors and these are the substances added. For red glass, generally copper oxide is added. For green glass, chromium oxide is added. And for blue glass, cobalt oxide is added. And for brown, iron oxide is added. Chemical formula is written here. Copper oxide CuO, chromium oxide Cr2O3, cobalt oxide CuO, and iron oxide Fe2O3. Now, next important chemical is heavy water. The formula is D2O, and it is the water that contains heavy hydrogen or deuterium. See, hydrogen have three isotopes, that is hydrogen, then deuterium, then tritium. So 1H1, 1H2, and 1H3. And deuterium actually differs from the hydrogen, and it usually found in water. And protium, that is in hydrogen, and in that each atom of deuterium contains a proton and a neutron. Now heavy water is D2O, and it may also be uh, chemically characterized as deuterium protium oxide DHO. Heavy waters occurs naturally, and although it is very much less common than the regular water, means heavy water is generally found in the nature, but in very less quantity than the normal water. And this T2O or heavy water is generally used in the nuclear reactors. You must have listened this heavy water, and this heavy water can be used as a coolant as well as moderator also. And approximately one water molecule per 20 million water molecules is heavy water. So the presence of heavy water in nature is very less, but it exists in nature. Next is the hard water. Hard water is the water in which soluble bicarbonates of calcium and magnesium are present, and it is actually called the temporary hard water. There are two type of hard water. One is temporary and one is permanent hard water. So in temporary hard water, soluble bicarbonates of calcium and magnesium are present, and in the permanent hard water, soluble sulfates and chlorides of magnesium and calcium are present. So please remember this difference. In temporary hard water, soluble bicarbonates of calcium and magnesium. So there are bicarbonates present in temporary hard water, and there are sulfates and chlorides present in permanent hard water. Now we should know that how to remove hardness of water. See, the temporary hardness of water is can be removed by boiling. This is the first method, and also by adding calcium hydroxide. So temporary hardness of the water is due to the bicarbonates of magnesium and calcium, and it can be removed by the boiling or by adding calcium hydroxide, that is CaOH whole twice, and it is also known as Clark process. Now the permanent hardness of water is because of the sulfates and chlorides of magnesium and calcium, and it is removed. So permanent hydration of the permanent hardness of the water can be removed by the by adding the sodium carbonate. Temporary hardness can be removed by adding calcium hydroxide, and permanent can be removed by adding sodium carbonate or calgon or sodium hexametaphosphate Na2NaHPO3. Okay, please remember these facts. Now next concept is hardening of oil or hydrogenation. See, oil is an unsaturated fat, but when heated with nickel catalyst and hydrogen, it gets converted into a solid mass which is called ghee, and that is a saturated fat, and this process is hydrogenation. So this process is called hardening of oil and is carried out through hydrogenation in the presence of nickel as a catalyst. Now we'll see the ores. These are very important, and the questions related to the ores are generally asked in all the exams, all the competitive exams. Ores are the minerals from which the metals are extracted commercially and economically. Please remember this. Ores are the minerals from which metals are extracted commercially as well as economically and with minimum effort. So these are called ores of metals. See, metal is found in various type of minerals, in the ores also and in other minerals also. But those minerals from which metals can be extracted economically, commercially, and very easily with minimum effort, those minerals are known as ores. For example, aluminium. Aluminium can be extracted from bauxite, corundum, or cryolite. So the ores of aluminium are bauxite, that is Al2O3.2H2O, corundum Al2O3, cryolite or Na3AlF6. Then ores of iron are hematite, magnetite, iron pyrite, and siderite. Formula for hematite is Fe2O3, magnetite is Fe3O4, iron pyrite is FeS2, and siderite is FeCO3. Then ores of copper are copper pyrite, copper glance, and malachite. Copper pyrite formula is CuFeS2, copper glance is Cu2S. Then this malachite is 2Cu, CO3, CuOH whole twice. Then ores of zinc are zinc blende and calamine. Zinc blend is ZnS and calamine is ZnCO3. Ores of sodium are rock salt or NaCl, which is a commonly used salt. And then other ore of sodium is sodium carbonate or Na2CO3. Then ores of potassium are carnellite and saltpeter. Carnellite formula is this KClMgCl dot 6H2O and saltpeter is KNO3. Ores of lead are galena and anglesite. Galena is PbS and anglesite is PbCl2. Ores of tin are tin pyrite and clasiterite. The formula is given here. Then ores of silver formula is Ag, and one ore is there uh, from which silver is extracted. It is silver glance Ag2S. Then gold formula is Au, and the ores of gold are calverite and syberite. Calverite is AuTe2 and syberite is AgAuTe2. Then ores of mercury are cinnabar, that is HgS, and calomel, that is Hg2Cl2. Then ores of magnesium are dolomite and carnellite. Dolomite is MgCO3, CaCO3, carnellite is KCl, MgCl, 2,6H2O. Then ores of calcium are limestone and dolomite. Limestone is CaCO3 and dolomite is MgCO3 and CaCO3. Ores of phosphorus are phosphorite, that is Ca3PO4 CaFe2, and fluoropatite, that is 3Ca3PO4 CaFe2. So this is the end of this chemistry digest for competitive exams, and these are the very basic concepts of chemistry which are must know for all the competitive exams in India, whether it is UPSC or state civil services exams or SSC exams or railway exams or banking or any other competitive exam. And in the next video we will put some MCQ which have been previously asked in various exams, and in other videos we will bring some more videos of physics, biology, and some more videos from NCERT and some from environment and ecology. So thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like and share our channel. Please like, share and subscribe our channel Study for Civil Services for more updates.